out of him. So that's...
Thank you for your service. Now I'll give you my backhand. My winner whizzes down the line. Betting weekly tennis live. Are you ready for it? Here we go.
Hi there, welcome to Betting Weekly Tennis Live in association with Bet Rivers. I'm Rory Jiwani, with me is Tim Dennis. We're right in the middle of the Asian swing, so no in-play action to bring you, but we will be looking forward to the start of the ATP 1000 Shanghai Masters, which gets underway late tonight, Eastern time. And we've got the remaining last 16 matches in the WTA China Open in Beijing. Remember, we want to get your thoughts and comments. We're also on social media at Because We Win. And if you like what you hear on our show, sign up for our newsletter, get exclusive tips and the free Insider magazine. Sign up for free at www.bettingweeklystudios.com. Hi, Tim. Hi, Willie K. Yeah, time to prep for Shanghai, indeed. Tim, Carlos Alcaraz, he won in Tokyo. He beat Taylor Fritz in the final, but the Spaniard misses Shanghai due to an ankle injury. His rival for the world #1 spot, Jannik Sinner, is into the final in Beijing. He'll face learner Tien in the final. I don't think I've ever seen a final of any tournament where the odds are quite this lopsided. Sinner is minus $50 to win. Tien is $14. The spread is 6.5 games and the total's 18.5. Tim, good afternoon to you. And do you think Tien has any hope of derailing the Sinner train here?
Hello, Rory. Hello, everyone. Yeah, good to be here. In a short answer, no, I don't. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who's going to be thinking that, looking at those odds. I mean, Tien's had a pretty good Asian swing. I think he's won 7 of his 8 matches. And although he has benefited from 2 retirements already here, one today against Medvedev and one yesterday, I think, against Musetti. So he's been fairly fortunate to get to this far. Obviously, Medvedev kind of gave that match away, really. I think he was just setting 3-0 up, and it looked to be all sort of one-way traffic. And then he had a little bit of injury, Medvedev, and he lost that second set and came back sort of heavily cramping. So that game was pretty much over as a spectacle from that point. So, I mean, like you say, have you ever seen a final sort of so one-sided? I guess maybe this is what we're going to get with Alcaraz and Sinner aren't in the same tournaments, because that's the only time they don't seem to meet. But yeah, you'd be very surprised if Tien can do anything against Sinner. Sinner obviously came through against de Minaur today. De Minaur took that second set. They both had chances in that second set, and eventually it was de Minaur who took the break points. He finally was offered, and but then straight away, I mean, immediately Sinner broke him first in his first service game of the final set, and then the kind of writing was on the wall straight away. These great players have this ability to raise their level just at the right time, don't they? Like, I mean, yeah, to just break him first straight away, and pretty much the second de Minaur thought he was in with a chance, he obviously realised it pretty quickly he wasn't all of a sudden. So, yeah, I mean, a bit of a boring thing to state, but yeah, you can only see a comfortable Sinner victory, I think.
No reason to get involved on the spread or anything like that? Do you just think worth just leaving alone?
I mean, have you got the graphic there just to put up? I was just looking at the set betting. Yeah, the spread is 6.5. I mean, I guess what's also in Sinner's favour is he was the first game, so he's going to get the slightly longer break, even though Tien didn't have to play much in that final set. 18.5. I mean, I think fairly tight. It's their first head-to-head, so I mean, with Tien being a lefty and Sinner not having a read on his serve, that might give him half a chance if that's the way you want to look. I mean, can he win sort of? Can he win 7 games there to cover that spread? I mean, there's certainly potential for it. If I was probably looking, I'd probably be going over the totals, because with that lefty serve and it being their first meeting, it might take a few games to get a read on it, but it would only be a very small lean. I think the difference in class is quite high.
Absolutely. Hi to Jean, and Willie K was saying about fitness and Alcaraz and Sinner just being fitter than everyone else. I mean, both have suffered injuries. I mean, it's not like they're totally bomb-proof on the fitness front, but I think the thing is, when they are fit, they're just so much better than everyone else at the moment.
Yeah, I think being sort of completely locked in as well, I don't think you'd have seen some of these players losing the sets in sort of slam matches. Obviously, Alcaraz lost a set to Ruud the other day, Sinner to de Minaur today, where he's absolutely just played him off the court in Grand Slams. Sort of, I think at the Australian Open this year, it might have been 2-1 and 2, but it was certainly very one-sided anyway. And I just think maybe at these slightly lesser tournaments, this is where they might have half a chance. But again, like you speak about their fitness, they've obviously got great teams around them. And it looked at one stage that Alcaraz might not come through this tournament in his first match when he pulled up on it. I think it was his ankle, but he obviously came through that match and came through the tournament. So no great surprise to see him missing Shanghai, even though Shanghai a slightly bigger event than the one he's just won.
Absolutely. We will have a look at some of the Shanghai first round matches a bit later on. Funny, I saw one of the messages saying, when do you start thinking about the Australian Open? Not for a little bit, I don't think. I mean, to be honest, the time to bet, one of the best times to bet on those future slams is sort of during the previous slam. So during the US Open, you see a player going well in the US Open, there's a chance to get some value at the Australian Open because the bookies haven't usually caught up. So I think I got a nice price about Amanda Anisimova for the Australian Open earlier in the year, just by sort of seeing how she was playing and seeing that her price hadn't moved for the Australian Open. But I don't think there's really much scope to get involved again right now. Tim, are you looking forward to the Australian Open yet, or definitely not for a month?
Funny enough, watching. It's funny you mentioned that. 'Cause actually, during the Mukova Anisimova game today, I did have a look at her Australian Open price just to check what it was. I think she was about 6th favourite for that, which I was quite surprised still. So I thought she was a little bit big still. Obviously, I imagine if she goes a bit deeper and even wins this tournament, that will get cut. But you can get a little bit of value at these sort of times, can't you? As long as they're these tournaments, if you get on before they're finished and you see something you like. Because I've even had a look at the French Open already, just out of interest, and I thought Iga was playing pretty well, and I thought this time last year she was sort of heavy minus money, and I think she's about plus 200-ish at the moment. So that might look a bit of value in 6 months' time, but yeah, 6 months' time is a long way away yet. So maybe we're better off just concentrating on the Australian Open before we get too far ahead of ourselves.
Absolutely. What we're going to do, obviously, we've got that Sinner versus Tien in Beijing. There's also the WTA 1000 tournament going on there. And that's the matches we're going to look at first before we look at the Shanghai first round. First up here, we've got Mirra Andreeva against Sonay Kartal. First meeting between the pair. Andreeva won comfortably in the end against Jessica Bouzas-Monero in the previous round. Kartal's had a really good week, actually. She beat Daria Kasatkina and Maya Joint. Hasn't dropped a set so far, but this will be a lot tougher, you would think. Andreeva minus 420, Kartal plus 320. The spread's 5.5 games and totals 19.5. Any view on this one, Tim?
It'd probably be just a lean similar to sort of the men's final we've just spoke about, but I'd probably be leaning towards Andreeva probably covering that spread. Obviously, Kartal, like you say, she's done really well here since coming from Billie Jean King, where she sort of gave Navarro a bit of a scare. Like you say, not losing a set, but I just thought maybe that was one game too many for Maya Joint when she played Kartal there the other day. She's played a lot of tennis lately, and we know sort of Kasatkina's levels haven't been up to scratch pretty much all year. So I thought Andreeva might take care of her fairly comfortably. I know you're a bit of a fan of Kartal. making players play that extra shot. So I was half interested to see your thoughts as well. But just at first glance, I'd be leaning towards her covering the spread.
Well, I saw a bit of Andreeva Mannarino, and I was quite impressed. And actually, previous round as well. Who did Andreeva beat first up? Can't remember who she beat first up.
Zizou.
Yeah, and she was good. I mean she was good in longer rallies, and she did make quite a lot of unforced errors, but I thought she was pretty good, and I think her level is just going to be that too high for Kartal. Kartal's good against lesser opponents, but I think Andreeva has the consistency and has the power to beat her fairly comfortably. I think I would have a lean on Andreeva like you to cover the spread. Not a price you're going to get rich off, but I think she'd have a chance of doing so. We will be looking at. Will we be looking at Potapova Noskova? Yes, we will be looking at Potapova Noskova in a bit. So stay with us for that one. But Andreeva Kartal, yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you there. I think Andreeva will win pretty comfortably. Next up, Iga Swiatek against Emma Navarro. And Swiatek's been baking this week. She had a bagel against Jiwani, and in the first set against Camila Osorio before the Colombian retired. Navarro, she also came through inside the distance. Lois Boisson quit early in the second set. 2 previous meetings, and this doesn't make happy reading if you're a Navarro fan. Their first meeting was back in 2018 in an ITF 100,000 event in Charleston, which is Navarro's backyard. Swiatek won 6-love, 6-2, and that might have been a long time ago. But in this year's Australian Open, Swiatek beat her 6-1, 6-2. I think it might be a similar story here. What do you reckon, Tim?
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. I mean, I think there's been a bit of money for Swiatek. I think the spread when these sort of markets opened up was sort of -120 for -5.5. So, I mean, that shifted a bit. It's now 6.5 for sort of +100 even money. And I think even that probably looks about right. But I think if I had a choice, I'd still be coming out on the side of Swiatek there. I just think she's going to have too much ammunition for Navarro. Serving still pretty well, looks to be in great form, in really good sort of physical condition, concentrating sharply on her matches, and she looks in good place right now, Swiatek, and I'd be surprised if Navarro can lay a glove on her, and even that 6.5, I think I could probably see her covering it. I wouldn't be surprised again if this is sort of 6-2, 6-2. I'd be surprised if Navarro can win that many games here.
Well, Swiatek's already got 2 bagel in this tournament, and 6-love in the first set is +750. I wouldn't put anyone off that. And 6-1 is +420. And you could probably, obviously, we said the game spread is 6.5. You might be tempted to be a bit bolder. So Swiatek -7.5 games is +175, and that looks pretty tempting. As you say, if you sort of 6-2, 6-2, that would cash, and that would be tempting for me. And even -8.5 games at +320. You could ladder it. You could have the -6.5, -7.5, and the -8.5 if you fancy going crazy. But I do think this will be pretty one-sided. So a lot of ways to get with Swiatek in that match. We're going to move on. And these 2 matches, if I'm not mistaken, I am not mistaken because it says it at the top, the BWTL Daily Double. Tim, your Daily Double is going to come from these matches. Marta Kostyuk +140 against Jessica Pegula -175. The spread's 2.5 games and totals 21.5. Pegula yesterday came back from the dead against Emma Raducanu, saving match points in the second set before taking the decider 6-love. Kostyuk eased past Alexandra Sasnovich in the last round. Pegula leads the head-to-head 3-1. Last meeting was in Miami in March, excuse me, where she won 6-2, 6-3. What do you reckon to this one, Tim? This is an interesting match, I think.
Yeah, Mitch and I spoke sort of very briefly about this last night when the prices come out, and I think Kostyuk was a +155 chance there, and it's no surprise for me to see that come in a bit. I still think probably +140 is a little bit on the big side for her. Like you say, Pegula leads the head-to-head 3-1. All of those wins coming on hard courts, but I think this match is going to be last on at night tomorrow, and I think conditions by then will really suit Kostyuk. I think Jannik Sinner actually said today that these courts can sort of, at certain times, they can play really slow. So I think that will suit her. She hasn't lost a set in 4 matches since losing to Mukova at the US Open. Looking full of confidence to me, doing really well for her country at the Billie Jean King Cup. And like you said, Pegula very fortunate to come through against Raducanu. Raducanu giving up those 3 set points. And I think this match is probably going to mean a little bit more to Kostyuk than it is Pegula. Obviously, long seasons for both of them. But I mean, Pegula's been thrashed, hasn't she, at the Billie Jean King Cup twice, once by Paolini and also by Rebecca. And she also lost a set there to Katie Bolter. So, I mean, initially I did look at the kind of over games here, but I think I've actually sort of moved my opinion to getting on side with Kostyuk. So I like her at plus 140 there. A little bit of a shorter than she was yesterday at 155, like we said, but I still thought it would be a little bit closer between these two in the market. And I just think at this stage of the season, this is a good chance for Kostyuk to get a victory over a top 3 player in the world, which Pegula is.
Yeah. So you like Kostyuk on the money line? Yeah. It was funny because yesterday, I mean, Raducanu really should have won that in straight sets. She had enough chances. But I don't know, Pegula, she's very solid, isn't she? And when she's playing well, like she did obviously in the decider, but Raducanu's level dropped significantly. It looks almost, there's an almost inevitability about it that she's going to win at times. But Kostyuk will give her plenty to think about. She's a great mover on the court. And as you say, I mean, what have you made of Beijing? Because I've watched it at various times and it's not looked quick. But yeah, I think what you were saying that Sinner said in the later matches, it does look slower, but it hasn't looked all that quick, full stop.
Yeah, I think there's a huge difference between sort of playing middle of the day compared to playing in the evening. I mean, I actually spoke to one of the guys, and after I watched the first round match of I think it was Francis Tiafoe, his first round game, and I couldn't believe how slow it looked. It looked desperately slow to me. I mean, they were last on at night, another night game, and I think a few of the men's games the next day went to sort of the early matches. It looked reasonably quick again, but certainly at night, I think I wouldn't say it's desperately slow, but it's certainly on the slow side. And like you said, Sinner reiterated that today. And Pegula, to me, I spoke yesterday, she reminds me a little bit of sort of Duminor on the men's side. She's very solid and very consistent, isn't she? Without sort of having huge weapons, and I do think Kostyuk can give her a run for her money here, and yeah, I do just think she's a little bit too big, so I think she's a way to go.
So Kostyuk on the money line at plus 140. The second match in your daily double concerns Anastasia Potapova and Linda Noskova. And Potapova has been a little bit of a revelation this week after a pretty poor season. Hasn't dropped a set so far. She's beaten Katerina Siniakova, Victoria Mbuko, and Zeynep Zonmez, the Turkish player. Sonmez. Noskova was leading Qin Wenxiang 3-love in the third set when the home favourite retired due to injury. These two have met twice before. It's one apiece in the head-to-head. Noskova's win came at Adelaide at the start of 2023. And this year at Roland Garros, Potapova won 7-5 in the third. Based on what we've seen from them this week, I mean, Potapova plus 148, Noskova minus 182. Spread 2.5, totals 21.5. I thought Potapova looked a bit big from what I've seen.
I think that spread's come in. I think that was 3.5 earlier, so that's moved a little bit. So
right,
perhaps a little bit of money for Potapova, and I'm not overly surprised really. The way I quite like to go, I quite like the over 21.5, a little bit similar to their game in the French Open earlier on this year. I think, like you say, where Potapova took that 7-5 in the third, and I think even with that sort of that one-sided second set 6-1 to Noskova, that Potapova still managed to win the service points 1 and return points 1 totals in that match. I think 101 to 99, so fairly tight. But sometimes when you get a sort of real skewed set like that, those numbers can look a bit tricky. But yeah, she still managed to win those service points 1, return points 1 totals, and I think both players won less than 50% of their second serves in that match, and I think this could be a similar way to go with a total of 31 break points in that match, and it wouldn't surprise me if this game went a fairly similar way on this kind of court. And so, yeah, I think expect more of the same. Potapova, like you say, hasn't lost a set yet, defeating Siniaka and Boko and Somnes, so she'll be full of confidence here. And perhaps Noskova a little bit fortunate to come through with Zheng retiring there the other day. Obviously, it was 3-0 in that second set, but Zheng, even I think in that previous game, I think she had love 30 on that Noskova serve to break back, but wasn't able to do it. So, yeah, I just see this being a little bit similar to their previous match. Both players having their opportunities, and yeah, I thought over 21.5 at -109 was the way I wanted to go here.
Yeah, I saw quite a bit of that Noskova Zheng match, and I mean, one thing you were saying about the speed as well, because I think this one's first up tomorrow, so they could have some of the quickest of the conditions, perhaps. So that would help Noskova's serve. The slower, the better for Potapova, I would suggest. Yeah, I mean, Noskova, she wasn't all that convincing against Zheng, who isn't 100% fit. She admitted it in the lead up to this, or she admitted it after her first win, I should say. Yeah, I thought this was tricky, and it could well go deep, because I think two players who haven't had the best of form of late as well, and Noskova didn't look, as I say, she didn't look all that convincing against an opponent who looked a little bit compromised. So, and as you say, Potapova not having a good season. Yeah,
I probably prefer this bet if it was at night, but I still think it's worth chancing with the way these two have been playing this week.
Okay, so that is the second leg of your daily double. So we got Kostyuk money line at +140. Potapova, that's actually moved slightly over 21.5 games now, -113. And the daily double pays +354. So good luck if you're getting involved in that. We'll remind you of that again at the end of the show. So that's Beijing. Let's head to Shanghai. 4 matches to look at here. First round of the ATP 1000 tournament. Sebastian Ofner against Luca Nardi to start. Ofner +123, Nardi -152. Total games there 22.5. Both on something of losing streaks. Ofner's lost his last 7 matches in a row on a variety of surfaces. He hasn't played since the US Open. Nardi has lost his last 3, including his opener in Tokyo to Matteo Arnaldi in 3 sets. The Austrian Ofner leads the head-to-head 2-0, although both meetings were in 2023. I mean, I guess the first thing to say, Shanghai is a tournament that does play pretty quick generally. I'm not sure which of these two that will favour, though, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps just Nardi more than Ofner, but like you say, Ofner's won both of their head-to-heads, and I think the last time he beat him was on a hard court. There was I think it was in France, wasn't it? So, and I think Ofner came here last year and he won his first round match before losing to Tommy Paul, and even though he's lost his last 7 matches, I think it's a tough one to have a strong opinion about personally. So, yeah, it's not one I'd be having a strong bet on. Like you say, you've got a player who's lost his last 7. Nardi's lost his last 3. Neither of them looking in the best of form. Nardi lost in the first round here last year as well. I think maybe you might just let Ofner that head-to-head maybe just swing you at plus money, but yeah, probably one to be having very small stakes on and not one I'd have a strong opinion on, I don't think, Rory. No,
same here. Moving on to Jaume Munar against Martin Fucsovics. Munar +106, Fucsovics -130. Totals again 22.5. Spread is 1.5 games here. Fucsovics leads the head-to-head 2-0. He beat Francis Tiafoe, I think that was the match you were talking about, in Tokyo, before falling to Brandon Nakashima in straight sets. Munar fell at the first hurdle in Tokyo to Matteo Berrettini. in his match we'll be looking at a bit later on. But maybe the faster conditions again might favour Fucsovics, but I think I said this last week when we looked at Munar against Berrettini. I think I looked at it with Nigel, and Munar isn't bad on hard court. Maybe a chance he could upset the odds here.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, he won his first round match here against Gaston last year before, but sort of being taken out by Lehechka on conditions that would have suited Lehechka, and maybe sort of that tennis just caught up with him, having a reasonable run at the US Open before losing to Musetti there when he was clearly injured. So perhaps he's come back. He's had a match against Berrettini in the Asian swing so far, and I think if he's fit, he could look at a reasonable price here to take out Fucsovics. Fucsovics obviously lost to Nakashima, having beaten Tiafoe last week, and he did his best to throw away that match against Tiafoe, but managed to come through in the end. Tiafoe, another player not in great form at the moment, so a good win for Fucsovics, but nothing to write home about. And I think if Munar is fit and firing here, that plus money could look quite nice come the end of the day. Perhaps the best way to look at it is to watch the first few games. If you think he's fit and healthy and moving well, then perhaps you might want to side with Munar. But I mean, we're going to have to take it on trust that he is okay, because obviously he's turning up here, so you'd like to think he is. But I think you still probably want to see it for your own eyes before you want to get involved.
Moving on to two relative veterans, Adrian Mannarino, the Frenchman, plus 118 against Matteo Berrettini, who we've just talked about. The Italians minus 148. Totals here very high, 23.5. Amazingly, they've only met once, considering they've been around for so long. That was 7 years ago at the Australian Open. Mannarino won in straight sets, and the Frenchman's not in bad form. He reached the last 16 in Beijing, going down to Lorenzo Musetti. Berrettini powered past Munar in Tokyo, but then fell to Casper Ruud. I think before we looked at Munar Berrettini, we were all a bit concerned about the Italian's fitness. Obviously looked good against Munar. And that's probably why he's the favourite. But Mannarino on a quick surface is someone who is quite a tough opponent, isn't he?
Yeah, Berrettini's going to have to be fit here to win this one. I think. Obviously, he's won 3 of his 5 matches at the Asian swing so far. Like you say, losing out there to Musetti, but Musetti looked pretty good here this week until he got injured. And we've said this multiple times now, this stage of the season where you're taking a little bit on trust with these fitness of these players, and Berrettini is one has obviously had his issues, not just all this year, but for many previous years in the past as well before. So whether he just sort of had that good result against Munar there, and then perhaps wasn't quite at the same level against Ruud. Obviously Ruud a step up from Munar, but I think a little bit to be taken on trust with Berrettini again, and I think you want to take a bit of a risk to be getting involved at him at sort of, was he minus 148 there on the money line? That looks a little bit short to me. Yeah. Again, like you say, Mannarino goes well on these quick conditions and plus money. That is minus 148 Berrettini, isn't it? Yeah, not plus 148. I don't think.
Oh yeah, good spot.
You'd have to be pretty brave getting in there. Berrettini at minus 148 there. So again, perhaps just watch the first few games of this match. But again, I think I'd be leaning towards Mannarino there, just because you're certain he's fit and firing, and you're not certain Berrettini is. So a tough one to be getting heavily involved in, I think. But I think if you really want to have a bet, I'd be taking the plus money Mannarino.
Yeah, Willie K there. Mannarino at plus money sticks out. Berrettini getting a lot of credit for his win against Munar. One bet I thought which might be interesting, because they're quite good servers and they don't drop serve too often, was overs games in the first set. I mean, over 9.5 is a bit short at minus 182, but over 10.5 at plus 115 might be of interest in that one. That could be a way to get involved. Especially if you're unsure.
A match that's sort of early on in the day as well, so when conditions should be at their quickest, and like you say, both pretty good holders of their own serve. Certainly Berrettini anyway, and perhaps with Mannarino being an awkward lefty, not the easiest to return for Berrettini, and you like to think you're going to get a set out of it. So yeah, if you were having a bet in the first set, that's probably a good way of looking at this match, because you'd be pretty confident both players are at least going to complete the first set anyway.
You would hope so, yes. One final match to look at, Sebastian, Korda. I mean, we're talking about a lot of injury-ravaged players, aren't we? Especially this time of the season. And Korda's had a bit of a nightmare with injuries this year. But he's a heavy favourite against Zizou Bergs, the Belgian. Korda is -275, Bergs +210. Totals 22.5. The spread is 3.5 games. This is their first meeting. Bergs is actually higher in the world rankings, but hasn't had the best of runs lately. He did win his opener in Tokyo against Alejandro Tabulo, but then went down in straight sets. No disgrace. He went down to the eventual winner, Carlos Alcaraz. Korda did make the quarterfinals in Tokyo. He fell in 3 sets to eventual runner-up Taylor Fritz. So signs that he may be finding some form. I don't know. I just had the feeling Bergs looked a little bit big here at +210.
Yeah, potentially. I guess which Korda we're going to see. I mean, at least he's completed his last 6 games, 5 of those coming on the Asian swing, which is a good sign for Korda going forward, because we, like you said, looking at the graphic, a lot of these players are injury concerns, and he's right up there with the best of them. But I thought he looked pretty good against Fritz there. Perhaps it was a bit of an opening for him. Fritz had played a lot of tennis, and he might have just been not quite 100%. So he might be a little bit disappointed not to make that more of a match in that final set. But pretty good effort to take a set off him. And obviously Bergs, no disgrace, like you say, to lose to Alcaraz in straights. But I thought Korda should be coming through this if he's at full strength. And with those last 6 match completions, I'd like to think he is getting towards that. And I think Bergs, yes, still serving. I think he has tidied it up, but I still think it's a little bit of an issue for him. So I would be looking towards Korda getting this done comfortably. I'm not quite sure what the straight sets price was there. I imagine it's still a hint of minus money there, but I thought he should be taking care of Bergs here, really, with fitness looking assured now anyway. Let's have a look there at the set betting. Okay, Korda -1.5 sets, essentially straight sets, is even money. So yeah, I think that's probably quite fair. Conditions that should suit him as well. I think he'd be a bit disappointed if he can't come through Bergs comfortably here. Okay, so those are the 4 matches in Shanghai we've looked at. Now, I've got some bad news. There's been a bit of movement on your daily double and not in the right direction. You said Kostyuk was a bit big at +140. Well, she's now +135. But we'll go through your daily double again. Obviously, slightly revised prices. We'll have to stick with it. Yeah, Kostyuk there. You see on the graphic there, it says +140, but it has just changed, unfortunately, to +135. And your other bet was Potapova Noskova over 21.5 games. That's actually -113. So the daily double pays +344. But what price was Kostyuk yesterday? She was even bigger, wasn't she? I think she was +155 this time yesterday. So yeah, she was 1.5 down into 135 now. So hopefully we're right, and she was too big at that 155, but she's still got to go and win anyway. So we're hoping she can tomorrow and get that big victory. Definitely. Well, fingers crossed, and fingers crossed for all of you if you're getting involved in that daily double. Thank you, Tim, as always, for your time, and good luck with those bets. Thank you all for watching. There should be, I'm not exactly sure of the situation with Shanghai. I don't know if they're waiting for the action in Tokyo to finish, but I think we're still awaiting future outright odds for the 1,000 in Shanghai. As soon as they come out, Sean and Nigel will be on the case with a game bet match show looking ahead to Shanghai. We've had a look at some of the matches. I'm sure they'll have a look at some more, and they'll be looking at the outright market as well. Thank you all for joining us. We'll be back again. I think tomorrow it's going to be Mitch and Nigel, is it? Or unless you're not doing 3 in a row, are you, Tim? Yeah. No, just the 2 for me today. Unfortunately, for the people watching, they get. I think Nigel's on tomorrow, like you say, with Mitch. Yeah. So. Yeah. So they'll be back with more from Beijing and Shanghai. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again soon, again on Betting Weekly Tennis Live.